Nate, tell us a little bit about your background, where you grew up, when you first started playing, what was the motivation? Give us some of the background.
Do you want me to look at you or the camera?
Yeah, camera.
Camera? Yeah, I grew up in Cedar Grove, Wisconsin, and was very active in sports throughout my entire childhood. In high school, I was playing football, basketball, baseball, and track. And then at the age of 16, I discovered a lump on my leg that we found to be osteosarcoma, which is a form of bone cancer. After about 9 months of chemotherapy and a 14-hour surgery, the doctors were able to remove the bone and replace it with titanium, which now limits me to not being able to run or jump or any other fast, active activities. In 2006, I took a Make-A-Wish trip to the Final Four in Indianapolis, Indiana, and that is where the first time I saw wheelchair basketball was an exhibition there. And at that time, I was a senior in high school, so I wasn't quite sure where I wanted to go to school, and I eventually chose the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, and knowing that they did have a wheelchair basketball team, but I wasn't really fully interested in playing. When I got to campus, I went to find the coach to ask if I could be a manager and to help out with the team in any way possible. And he determined that I wasn't going to be a manager, but he was going to make me play. So September 5th, 2006 is actually the very first day I sat in a wheelchair and shot a basketball from a wheelchair.
What was that experience like that first time?
I'll never forget the first time I shot from a wheelchair, because it was the fastest and the easiest way I could go get a basketball after my surgery. If I would shoot and miss, I wouldn't have to walk all the way across the gym and be worried about falling or tripping. It was just an easy 1 or 2 pushes and I could go get the ball again. So it felt like the wheelchair was replacing my legs and the ability that I lost from the tumor and the surgery. And I instantly fell in love. That day is the day that I fell in love with the sport.
You're a big dude. Were you dunking before?
I almost dunked in high school, but my hands, I just couldn't quite hold on to the ball. So I could get up and grab rim, but I couldn't quite throw it down yet. I was sick the end of the basketball season of my junior year, so 2005, just before our regional game. Went to the doctor, had a scan done, and they told me I had to quit playing that day just to make sure we didn't break the bone and injure myself any further.
So I had a friend who had the same thing. She was a swimmer at Alabama, and then she's got rods in her leg, and her mobility is really walking, but it's changed her lifestyle a little bit, in a way. How's that? Obviously it's a big change, and when you're an athlete, and you said 3 sport?
4.
4
Yeah.
sports.
Yeah, small high school. I got to play it all.
So that's a big deal. I mean, obviously at a very informative age, What was that? Take us through the evolution psychologically for you during that time period.
Yeah, I mean, anytime anybody hears the word cancer, I mean, it's life altering, whether it's you or a family member or a friend. And when it's you, you're scared. You're not sure what to expect, not sure what to think. And then when you hear that the thing that you really love most, sports and being active, is being taken away, it was tough. There's a lot of hard days. There's a lot of times where you don't want to go to school, you don't want to hang out with your friends. But luckily I had my parents and my family around me, that they wouldn't let me sit in my room. They wouldn't let me not go to school. They were really active in getting me to school and making sure I was still involved. But still, there was that void, that competitive void. And then also that confidence void. I mean, my identity was athletics, and my identity was being active. So really, in a sense, wheelchair basketball just filled that void, and it made me, it made me more active. It filled that competitive void, and really, I think it ultimately made me a better person, because going through cancer and that whole experience, it makes you humble and makes you thankful for what you're for, and then you find that wheelchair basketball to fill the competitive and the active side, and it's life-changing.
How do you forward that into, certainly you guys really are role models for individuals out there with disabilities, which comes in a lot of different forms too. Talk about what you can do giving back now in the future, and especially at an elite level now, you're going to Rio. So I think that, puts you in a different light to some extent in weighing the options of communicating that back to a certain community.
Right. I think, as an athlete, now we just have such an awesome platform to speak on, and we truly are ambassadors of the sport, of the Paralympic movement, and for people with disabilities, and also just anybody who's facing some sort of adversity. I have the pleasure of being a teacher, especially at the middle school level, and I see so many students who need those positive role models, and they need someone to look up to, and to, maybe not be an inspiration, but just be an example that even though today's a bad day, there's always tomorrow. And that's one of the best things that I can give back, is teaching and working with those young people.
Let's talk about Rio for a second here. The evolution of your career with NWBA and now being on Team USA going to Rio. What's that like? And have you thought and projected yourself down in Brazil here in a couple months?
Yeah, it's been, I always look at my story and my life and my career as a journey, and the first day I sat in that chair in 2006 and getting to meet a great group of guys, and then when they told me there's USA teams to make and there's competitions you can go to, that's all I need to hear, and I knew that this was something that I wanted to do. In 2009, when I got my first shot at the USA team, my first tryout, I was fortunate enough to make the team, and I haven't looked back since. And there's no greater feeling than wearing USA on your chest and traveling the world with your best friends and playing basketball. If you would have asked me back in 2006 when I started, or even 2005 when I was diagnosed with cancer, I probably would have laughed at you. But the hard work, the dedication, the early mornings, the lifting, it definitely pays off, and we're finally reaping the crops that we've sown and definitely worked hard for.
You've been on a lot of international teams. Any anecdotes, funny anecdotes, or things that have come up that you could share?
I don't think I can share them. No. There are some, but I don't think they're shareable.
All right. Your home state of Wisconsin. We were talking earlier. A couple of these guys. We asked what their favorite beer was because somehow beer came up.
Oh man.
Conversation.
Cold beer. There's so many to choose from. Definitely cold. Just as long as it's cold, and you're outside on a patio, sunny day. Oh, I love it. Can't wait to get back to Wisconsin. It's been 2 weeks, and it's too long already.
No Sprecher.
Oh, Sprecher, New Glarus, you name it, Leinenkugels, it's all good.
Spotted Cow.
Spotted Cow, yeah, that's it.
Favorite NBA player?
Ooh, man. I'm a Milwaukee guy, so I gotta maybe go with Giannis. Just the way that he can affect the game with his size and his length, and he's, we call him the Greek freak, or the alphabet, because his name. He's not your normal typical 6'10" point guard. He's a freak, and he loves to put his most effort into the game. And I think also another really special thing about him is that he's expressed his love for Milwaukee. And Milwaukee's not an easy place where people want to come play basketball. It's cold in the winter, and a lot of people don't see it as a beautiful city that it is. But just his game and his all-around personality. Seems like a stand-up guy.
Talk about your role within the team.
I would say I'm just the big guy who's expected to go down low in the paint and get it done, grab rebounds, finish layups, and also set dives that allow our shooters to be, the amazing athletes that they are. I get as much joy or pleasure out of a guy canning a 15-foot shot behind me as I do making my own layup, because I know that that's ultimately going to be our goal, and it's going to get us to where we want to be, and it's also going to open up our offense and do some amazing things for us.
talk about